What's up, guys? We have another game with the white pieces against Smoke 100,000, rated 800. He responds to e4 with h5. We're gonna just take the center, of course. You should definitely not be considering other moves. These should be your moves. And now he pushes the other h pawn. He's trolling us, but some people don't know how to deal with stuff like this. They start, you know, also making weird moves. That doesn't make much sense, right? So we're going to focus on the center and development. Now you have so many options in this position. You could push your f pawn, you could push your c pawn, you could develop any knight, any bishop, like whatever. I'm just going with the most natural, simple move. Bringing my king's knight out, hitting the center, preparing castles. Black makes the pawn move f6. Not advised, as it weakens these light squares. I mean, it weakens these two light squares, but it's access to the king, so you don't want to move your f pawn. It also blocks the knight. I don't know how he's rated 800. These moves are trash. Just terrible. So I'm going to continue taking over the center and play c4. Now I have 3 pawns uncontested, covering tons of squares on his side of the board. And I can continue developing. So black goes c6. Another pointless move that blocks his own knight, does absolutely nothing, doesn't develop. So some people want to like, okay, let me checkmate him, do something crazy. But I mean, there's nothing crazy to do. Just relax, take it easy, get your pieces out. So let's bring this light square bishop out, prepare castling, and let's eye the weak square that would be checkmate. A queen or a bishop there is checkmate. This is part of the 2-move checkmate, the fastest checkmate in chess, which involve these 2 pawn moves and a piece getting here or here. So he pushes this pawn. Another clearly bad move, doesn't develop. We could castle, we could develop the knight. I do kind of just want to go for checkmate though. So I do want to play e5. If he takes, it's checkmate. If he doesn't take and does anything with any other well, I guess he can move the d pawn to create escape square for the king. I mean, it's still bad because you're moving your king, but I'm just gonna play e5. My point is, like, what is he gonna do? Rook h6? I mean, he could do that, but then I could just continue my development. I can also go queen c2, threatening to put my bishop here, and then if the rook takes, the queen takes with checkmate. But black just keeps making pawn moves on the side, which makes no sense. He's clearly not asking himself what the threat is. So that's checkmate. I'm gonna just skip past that game. I'm not analyzing that. That was just straight garbage. So now we face Caesar EG, 835. I have more faith in Caesar. He opens up with e4. We play d6. He brings the knight out to the center. We bring our knight out towards the center. And we're hitting his pawn. It's currently hanging. He has to defend it. So he brings his knight out. This develops a piece towards the center and defends his hanging pawn. We play e5 to take our fair share of the center so that he doesn't overwhelm us. He plays d4 so that he puts both pawns in the center. His bishops are nicely developed and is playing principled chess. He's attacking my strong pawn in the center. Awesome. I'm going to take his strong pawn with my strong pawn. Fair trade. Now instead of having 2 strong pawns in the center, he just has 1. He takes back with his knight because he has to recapture one way or another. If he takes with the queen, he runs into knight c6 developing move. So now it's our turn, and we can develop our pieces. Bishop e7, or knight c6 maybe. I'm just going to go develop my bishop first, prepare castling, stay a little flexible with this knight. So he develops his bishop. This brings a piece, controls the central square, and gets another piece out. Can't be bad. Okay, we can castle. Let's just castle. Now our king is safe. We took care of king safety. We've been developing, and we have a little bit of the center with this pawn. We need to continue development and center. So white goes bishop c4. This pressures the center, develops a piece. White's playing very principled. This is awesome. Um, Way better than the other guy. Okay, so now it's our turn. Now, whenever you put your bishop here, you've probably heard this many times. You always have to watch out for the center fork trick. Knight takes pawn, knight takes knight, pawn pushes, hitting the knight and the bishop. I get the pawn, he throws in the check, I get the bishop, he gets the knight. That can't be good for him either, so let's just take the pawn and go for the center fork trick. It's not, winning or anything, it's just a nice way to try to equalize the position and push this pawn forward, a little more in the center. He could take it to try to get the pawn back. He could also drop it back to try to get it back that way, which is probably best. Yeah, so it's the center fork trick, but I gave up a piece to do this. Like I said, it's not winning or anything. It's just a nice way for black to equalize. So he does go back and find this move, which is nice. We take the knight, he takes back. Okay, so material's even, but now the center's been liquidated, and so black, in a way, equalizes. But he has good development with these bishops and the knights, so we have to be a little careful. If we develop our bishop, we hang stuff. If we just develop the knight naturally, we hang stuff. So we don't want to hang stuff, right? We don't want to hang stuff. So how do we do this? What's the most accurate way to untangle our pieces and get them out? Okay, I think this bishop, I think if we create a threat, let's go here, and this will threaten the knight and get out of the way of the rook. So when we put the rook here, the bishops will be pinned. Whereas if the bishop's here and we just went rook e8 last turn, the bishop can solidify here or something. So he defends it this way, which is fine. I knew we weren't going to win it. The point was to get it out of the way on a protected square with tempo. Can't play f5, but I was never going to play f5 anyway. Now we could develop another piece with tempo. So we improved the piece with tempo. Now we can develop this piece with tempo, which is good. This is helping us trying to get our pieces out. He protects it this way, but this is a pin, an absolute pin. Unlike the knight, if I kick the knight with a pawn and he moves it, no big deal. It's a queen trade. But if I kick this with a pawn, he can't move it because the king's behind it. So two things come to mind. One, attack it again with the bishop, which obviously doesn't work. And two is get rid of this knight just as a clearance sacrifice to get rid of this bishop so that I can play f5 in one turn, winning a piece. So I'm going to take the knight, and this guy's playing awesome for an 800, I gotta say. He's going to take back, but now there's this pin, and I did the clearance sacrifice. When I go here, he can't check me because it's pinned. He can give me this check, but I just move my king. And he has now lost his piece, and so that will fix my problem of getting these two out. Because it was a little tricky, because even if you just put it here and he takes and you double, your pawn structure's terrible. He's going to slide a rook over and just target him. That would have been really bad. So he goes here, little pressure, but more importantly the check. You don't want to block with your bishop because then that breaks the pin, although you might have discoveries there. But either way, you just want to move your king nice and easy. I don't see a problem with that. And now he still can't move the bishop, so maybe just castle. And now this is putting pressure here, but maybe I'll sack it at some point. But I think I'm just gonna leave the bishop here for the time being. I don't see a reason to move it just yet. I can develop the knight. Okay, he brings his queen in here, which is weird because he's not developing or moving his rooks. What does this threaten? Okay, it's not coordinating. Maybe he wants to get on the dark squares. Very weird move. Hits the rook, I suppose. And I guess it coordinates here. So it does hit a lot of stuff, but it seems easily met, I feel like, by maybe this. Keeping the pin with two different pieces. He can't take because that hangs the queen. If he takes my queen, I take back and everything's still on. He can't defend the queen, so he either has to trade or move it. If he moves it, I just pick up the bishop because these moves don't come with threats. I guess this move threatens a pawn, but that's not that good for him because I would trade queens. So he trades queens. I guess he can sack this bishop instead. Like he could have taken, I take, and then he could free this one if he wants. So he could have chosen which bishop maybe. But let's just take his bishop. He does castle. He's playing way better. He's going to shoot up the rating ladder for sure if he's a new player. Okay, so now he's hitting the pawn. It's a little pin, but who cares? Let's just develop a piece. Might as well protect it. It's more for development than for the protection. I don't really care about the pawn per se, but since you're developing it anyway, you might as well protect the pawn, right? This isn't good. This isn't good. This blocks your rook. This is passive, so might as well go here. He could kick it. We'll drop back. I don't see a big deal. He could also just take it. I guess we would take with the rook because we don't want to pin ourselves. Although, then if he takes our rook and we took and he moved over, I guess we would have to go here to cover checkmate. But he didn't do any of that. He moved his rook up to blockade the pawn. Interesting move. I'm going to continue developing because once I double stack, the game will be a lot easier for me. Once my rooks protect each other, I won't be afraid of anything. He pushes the pawn, which was under direct attack. But the pawn's kind of weak. It's not going anywhere. You could jump your knight in here, but this comes with a double threat. I don't see why not to go here. And of course, if you do take this pawn and hit the rook and the rook does move, that's going to make it a lot easier to push, which I wasn't planning on using this pawn. I was planning on losing it. But if he lets me double and get the knight here, I might as well push it, right? I don't really want this pawn on a2. Okay, so he jettisons the pawn saying if I take, he'll take with some type of fork, even though I have counterattacks on his rook, so it's not really a fork. So takes, here, he takes, I take, he goes over. I mean, I guess. I could also go here, but then he could just move his rook. Wait, what? He didn't even take. I mean, now I'm going to go here because it hits the bishop and the rook. It kind of forces him to do this, though. Or not. He is hitting my bishop, however. So now we have to be careful. We are up a piece. So do we take the rook? Or do we take the bishop? If we take a bishop, he takes a bishop. We take a rook, he takes a rook. That's even. Now, if we take the rook, and let's say he takes the knight, we win an exchange there, we move our bishop. That's good for us. If we take the rook and he takes our bishop, we're still up the exchange there. It's our turn, and then we can take the pawn back, defending our rook backwards. So let's take the rook. Even if it was an even trade, let's say you took the bishop and you just went for the even trade line, you're still up a piece, so you should still easily win. But now we were up a piece before, and now we get to exchange. What did he take? I just took a rook. He just took a pawn. I did not consider this move because it's crazy. He played so well, and then all of a sudden he started playing like an actual 800. What? He was playing like a 1500. Now he just turned into like a 400 in the past 3 moves. It makes no sense. Also, if you look at my last speed run, I played against some guy A and a bunch of numbers, and I started trash talking him. So he reported me, and I got a message from Leechess about like harassment and bullying or something. So I went back to his profile so I can harass him some more, and his account was blocked. I told you he was a cheater. I called it. I knew it in the video. You can tell when people aren't playing the way they should. So um, he just moves his rook over, but the game is lost because I'm up 8 points of material. I guess he's just looking at this square. I'll just take control of it. It's not a back rank checkmate. My bishop is defending the rook. And I think now's about a good time to resign for this guy. I think someone else was playing the game for him. Let me see. 15. Like, I don't know. Up until he moved 10, he was playing excellent. This is all still fine. This was kind of dumb. But even this isn't like 800 level mistake. It's like 1200. And he finds this. He trades. He castling here. Not an 800 move, but a good move. Okay, and then he starts playing really weird, bad chess, but whatever. So he moves his rook down here. Not sure what the heck this is, because now I'm just going to take it. And now I'm going to go here, which creates the secret sneak attack checkmate threat, because this knight covers this square. You could have done the same thing here, but putting your knight here entices a noob player to play this move to kick it, which actually gives an escape square. In this case, putting your knight here looks ridiculous, and a new player has no idea that you're setting up a mate. That you're like, I went here to set up mate, but it looks like I'm just attacking this pawn. So he moves the pawn and walks into mate. Bravo. All right, no rematch, thanks though. So we played with the center move. Then we develop a piece towards the center. Then we stake our claim in the center with the pawn. He now has a very strong center. We trade off so it's not as strong. Okay, we develop a piece. We put our king into king safety. And then it's not like it is a tactic, but it's not a winning tactic. It's just a thematic tactic in lots of e4 openings where they play e4 and d4. I mean, it's just a thing you need to know about it. So here it is. Pay attention. You take the pawn in the center. They take back with the knight. You fork with the pawn. It's still even material. Just a nice way to equalize. That's what you want to think about. So again, center, force move. And now this is not a force move. This is a forcing move. Because you could develop, but you can clearly see the problems if you just develop, right? If you just develop, that hangs pawns. If you bring this bishop out, you're gonna hang your rook and pawn. So although you would love to just bring this out and bring this out, like that's not gonna happen. So you have to be realistic. So since you can't move these two pieces effectively, I guess you could go here, kind of slow. Rook e8, possibility. But I like the fact that before rook e8, we play an improving forcing move. So it doesn't necessarily waste time because it forces him to respond, which is what's nice about it. So it also attacks the center, whereas this diagonal is not. So center, improving piece, which is a subset of development, is improving those developed pieces. And then development, center, king safety. Bad move, but I don't care about him. Center, tactics. This is tactics and center. And the rest is just easy. So again, center, development, king safety. We keep it basic. We know a couple patterns that I learned. I know about the center fork trick from other videos. I'm just implementing it here. I recognize it. Boom. That's all chess is. You just fill your head with more ideas, That way you know more patterns. Then you put it in your games. All right. Good luck in your chess. Thanks for coming by. And thank you for subscribing. I have over 200 subscribers somehow, which is wild to me. That there's even one person in this world who wants to watch this stuff that I put out. That's awesome. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. Um, have a good one.